A lawsuit filed against Vince McMahon has been dropped. Sasha Banks' asking price for appearances has been revealed, and AEW are dealing with another injury. Find out what's going on in a bit. So we're kicking things off with the news that a lawsuit against Vince McMahon has been dropped. Now, Vince has, of course, been the center of the wrestling news world over the last few weeks as more and more allegations are beginning to mount against him. But one thing that has been settled in this sort of bubble of time for Vince is a long-standing lawsuit against him. So this was reported by PW Insider, and they're saying that Oliver Luck's $24 million lawsuit against McMahon and McMahon's countersuit in turn have both been settled. Now, what's this all about? Well, you know, the XFL, Vince tried to bring it back. There was the whole kind of, big drive
it wasn't quite as successful as he wanted it to be.
No, and then COVID kind of hit, and then he sold it off to The Rock, and now it's off on its own now.
It's doing its own thing, yeah.
Yeah, this is from the time that Vince brought it back, what was it, a couple of years ago now?
2018 or so, yeah.
2018, yeah. So Luck sued McMahon and the XFL for wrongful termination and was looking for $24 million in unpaid compensation from Vince and the entity. Yeah, but it's I guess, when it's a contractual situation that's quite as in quite a grey zone like this one is, because McMahon filed countersuit, of course, against him to be like, no, you're wrong. And he claimed that Luck was terminated for cause because he signed Antonio Callaway, who was a player that once got caught with a little baggie of weed in 2018. Well, he signed him in 2018, I think. He wasn't caught. But the XFL had some pretty crazy rules when they announced it as a league. You had to only hire super America-loving, non-criminal, flag-waving, national anthem-standing boys.
I mean, I like the non-criminal aspect part of that. But they were trying to do everything the NFL was the opposite.
Yeah, they were trying to be the anti-NFL, and it was this big push for, we only want players to be decent people, and it doesn't really leave a lot of room for, people do make mistakes in life, and they shouldn't really be held accountable for their whole life for it, especially if it's just a little baggie of weed. But I mean, it kind of went back and forth, and it's been dragging out for quite some time. But the suit was apparently settled back on June 20th, with WrestleNomics' Brandon Thurston breaking the news that the lawsuit was amicably settled by both parties. Both parties are wanting the other one to go on and do well in life, and all that stuff. But now Vince has to, of course, go on and face the very serious allegations that are staring him down right now.
He's had quite a tough couple weeks, and money is... It seems everyone's trying to get some money from him, or like he's been putting a lot of money out there. I'm not surprised he's tried to settle this out of court.
I think that it's maybe reached a point where, it's got to reach a point when you get into these battles where, both sides just want it done. And so it sounds very much like that's what's happened here. There's been no details of what the settlement has been or anything, but, that may come out in future, it may not. But the important takeaway from it is that Oliver Luck can finally move on from the XFL saga drama. And Vince, as I said, can go on and face the serious allegations that are staring him down right now. But keeping it with WWE, I mean, it feels like this is the new CM Punk AEW. We're just constantly, every single day, Sasha Banks, Naomi, what's happening?
It's like there's something new, there's something little information drops that we're like, oh, is this gonna be a thing? Is it not?
Yeah, so it's been up in the air, and it's like, Sasha's been removed from the internal thing. We've had all the drama just coming and going, but it was recently revealed that Sasha Banks would be making her first non-WWE appearance following the drawn-out and clouded ongoing situation on August 6th and 7th at the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo, or C2E2, and it's going to be $90 for photos and $70 for autographs. And then Fightful Select did a little bit of digging on the matter, and they found out that wrestling promoters were told that she would only be doing non-wrestling appearances until January 1st. And it wasn't clear whether this was a contractual thing or more of like a personal date type thing that she set. But either way, her asking price was apparently $30,000 per appearance, which it's a lot of good money if you can get it.
It is a lot of money, and it's probably worth it to get Sasha Banks on your convention. If I'm being honest,
this is it. I think $30,000 per appearance. I think you have such a loyal fan base around Sasha. There's a lot of excitement around Sasha right now. There's a lot of rumor, hearsay. It's the type of event where, hey, you might. You always see little videos come out. It's like you never know whether something might be said. There might be something goes on. Like, it's one of those things where I think everybody's just going to want to go meet her just for the sake of doing it.
Eric Bischoff, obviously, controversy creates cash. And she probably realizes that right now she's one of the most controversial people in wrestling purely because the rumors that are surrounding her. And $30,000, that seems like a lot of money. But as you said, that could bring in a whole lot more for that convention.
And I mean, I don't know if that's $30,000 also per wrestling appearance, but essentially the fee is comparable apparently to what Sting would ask for if you were to try and book Sting, or only Hogan, Flair, Goldberg, and Michaels are the more like active, more expensive people who are taking up these things. I can confirm gently though from like a prior life that figure's about right. American import talent, like especially somewhere like here, like a big name, somebody with a lot of excitement around them. That's about. I mean,
they've got the WWE name attached. You can kind of advertise them as a WWE star or a former WWE star.
In there.
Yeah, exactly. You just have to say that. So like, she'll bring in a lot of money to any conventions. $30,000. It's a lot. She'll make that back. But it's interesting. The January 1st date. That. It seems like it's far off, but
it's not that far off, Fraser. It was January last week. I don't know what's happened.
it feels crazy. This year's going so fast, and perhaps we'll find a little bit more information about that sooner. But it's quite exciting. Every little bit of information we get about this, I'm like, I need to know more. Is she come back? Is she leaving? What's going on?
Well, hopefully we'll find out some more concrete information in the near future. But keeping it with WWE, we've got a bizarre SummerSlam update here. Now, the feud between the Usos and Street Profits has been bubbling and bubbling and bubbling, and it's been the whole will they, won't they, the universal tag title, everything that's going on with all of that. But it's bubbled over to the point where it really needs somebody in there to call it straight down the middle and, be that force that they need in the ring to make sure there's no shenanigans. So last night on SmackDown, we saw Angelo Dawkins defeat Jimmy Uso with Montez Ford and Jey Uso at ringside, of course.
Of course.
The pin came with, it came right at the end, but like dusty finish. You had like this moment where right at the end of the pin, Jimmy lifts his shoulder, but the referee still went and countered, and then that led to a bit of an argument at the end of the match, and everything's kind of getting a bit fiery. Then Adam Pearce emerged from the back, and he said that the situation was a prime example of why a special guest ref was needed, and then he proceeded to reveal the guest ref for SummerSlam. Do you know who it is, Fraser? Can you guess who it is?
What? It's Jeff Jarrett. Because that makes sense for the feud.
Yeah, it's Jeff Jarrett.
What's
in the middle of the Usos
credentials?
Street Profits. I think it's you've got to look at one word when you look at SummerSlam this year, and that word is Nashville. So I think
Tennessee.
WWE like these moments where you can bring back older stars. We've of course seen Jarrett come back for was it a Rumble spot?
He was in the Rumble and he did stuff with Elias. He had like a mini return from him.
Yeah, he had like a little kind of quick trip return type thing, didn't he? So he's a face that a lot of people know. He's getting more and more popular by the week with his podcasts as people are starting to learn that maybe he wasn't the guy we all thought he was. But yeah, I'm quite excited to see it just for the sake of seeing Jeff Jarrett out there again in his shades.
Who's he going to hit with a guitar? Like that's going to be the thing. Obviously,
he's going to have to come out with 4 guitars.
I can see him hitting Sammy to stop Sammy interfering or something.
Yeah, because that was the thing. Sammy, when this was kind of being revealed, he was like, I should be the special guest referee, and Sammy'd been running his mouth earlier about you don't disrespect Roman Reigns and all that stuff. But what that means is our updated card is as follows. So we got McAfee versus Corbin, which that's going to be fantastic.
Gonna be good.
Lashley versus Theory for the US title, which will be great. We've got Belair versus Lynch for the Raw Women's. Great. We've got Liv versus Ronda. I'm excited to see how that one's going to go down, the clash of styles there. We've got Usos versus Profits, undisputed tag for Jarrett's special guest. With Jarrett as special guest referee.
Yes.
And then we've got Roman versus Brock in a last man standing match for Universal. I will just add there, Lashley Theory is US title, Belair Lynch is Raw Women's, Liv Ronda is SmackDown Women's. But then, of course, we've also got Miz Logan Paul, which hasn't been confirmed, but it's all but confirmed.
It's pretty much expected that it will happen at SummerSlam. I find it funny though that Adam Pearce decides that because a referee couldn't count the pinfall correctly, we're going to bring in someone who's not a trained referee, and he's going to be the man to call the action. And Jeff Jarrett is the only man in the world that can officiate and decide a winner for the.
He probably was a ref at some point in Continental when he was 14, I imagine. Jerry will have had him out there. Yeah. Jerry will have had him out there doing summer. But moving over to the other side of the fence now, as we move to AEW to close out this news video, they're dealing with yet another injury. Now, they've been kind of bitten by the injury snake. It does feel like they are a little bit cursed these days. It feels like, it's starting to become a little bit dire. So we had most recently, Penelope Ford was announced to be announced to have been injured.
Yes.
We had Matt Jackson having a bit of a scare when he got a stinger on Wednesday night. But then Tony Khan took to Twitter to respond to a fan who had a question about where a certain star was. So the fan asked why Andrade wasn't wrestling more. And Tony responded by saying he'll be ringside for Private Party versus Lucha Bros on AEW Rampage on TNT tonight. He's been hurt since the Classic versus Rey Fenix 3 weeks ago. He got Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn to help him tonight, and Lucha Bros both still want a piece of Andrade and Rush too. Now, there were no details given as to the nature or the severity of the injury, but you gotta think that if he's in and around, there's no visible cast on him or anything, like. It's surely got to be something very minor where it's more of a kind of just rest up when you're not here situation, and maybe a sprain or something just very light that he's going to be able to bounce back from.
Hopefully he bounce back quick, because it seems like the thing with Andrade is that he came in with quite a lot of steam and he was kind of a big deal, and then it slowly sort of dwindled, and he's getting that back a bit, and an injury is obviously very unfortunate. And
we've had the whole Roosh thing, and it's just been like okay, but LFI I'm looking forward to it. So I just want to see him back healthy and moving forward. So
fingers crossed he's back soon.
On the point of injury, kind of lightly, you're not injured, but you're a trooper. You're not very well, are you?
I'm not. No, I'm down with the COVID. If folk can maybe hear it in my voice, it's been a rough week. But we've got to deliver the Saturday news. The news rolls on, and the wrestling world never stops.
What an absolute trooper! Genuinely, thank you very much for joining me today, Fraser. You're an absolute star. I will catch you all a bit later on. We'll be back with maybe some more wrestling news in a little bit. Tatty, bye.